Sometimes when you're trying to just sort out in your own head when a massive news story breaks out, when you're trying to figure out whether this is good for you or me or other regular, everyday patriotic Americans, you want to see if it's a good thing. You don't really know all the details. Sometimes you don't need all the details. Truly. There's a lot of details in the Venezuelan strike, obviously, but sometimes all you need to do is look at and get the reaction from the most vile, anti-American, absolutely clueless and disgusting political figures that hate America to get their reaction, to give you the general sense of whether or not it's good. Would it surprise you at all, to find out that the brand newly elected and sworn-in communist mayor of New York City, Zoran Mandani, said this: I was briefed this morning on the U.S. military capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, as well as their planned imprisonment in a federal court on unilaterally attacking a sovereign nation, an act of war and a violation of federal and international law. Does any of that surprise you? No, it shouldn't. But there's a lot more than that. And by the way, I wanted to just jump on here. If you're new to us and what we do with Wicked Radio, Monday through Friday, we do a live stream that lives on as a podcast, just trying to ask the right questions of all of us to try to figure out what's going on in the news, right? So with Venezuela, massive story. Historic story that we all woke up to this morning. Let's work it backwards. And then we'll get to more of the disgusting anti-American political figures who hate this move and everything they need to tell you. But here's the announcement, the official press conference from President
Maduro
Trump today.
and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. It's Jay Clayton for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens.
So what's been our media reaction so far? Typical. You could have guessed it. You could have written it. It could have been in a script, of course. Well, what's the far-reaching effects? What does it mean? Is it even legal? And of course, and we'll get to these folks, more of those folks in just a second. Why weren't we briefed as members of Congress? Well, you know why. Because you would have blurted it right out to the media immediately and blown up the entire plan. That's why. I tend to go to the real people. Who's most directly involved? And this is how I try to sort out this in my head today. Who's mostly happy about this? Well, let's go to the regular people of Venezuela. Let's find out how they feel about it. Here's one little party, celebration of songs, right? Great for Venezuela? No, correction. What I just played for you, that was Miami. Okay? So there's your first answer. It does directly involve us. Some of the numbers that came out today from Venezuelans who are in America escaping that dictatorship, there's an estimated 400,000 Venezuelans in the state of Florida who had to escape those hardships, who had to escape not just a dictatorship, not just a communist regime that was placed in there, that we never even recognized, by the way. No legitimate country ever recognized them. But a narco-terrorist regime. That's what it is. I like to listen to this guy. I know a lot of people, a lot of Venezuelans who are in this country as well, posted videos today. I don't know who this guy is. I like what he had to say, though. And he was obviously very happy about it. But what he said kind of shook me because this should give you a perspective of why this guy had to go.
Okay. As a Venezuelan American, I got some shit to say. My family, my parents, my sister, my extended family, all lost everything. Their work, their savings, their investments, gone. Wiped out by a narco dictatorship that has held Venezuela in a death grip for over 25 years. And what happened to my family has happened to millions, and yes, millions. The Venezuelan exodus is the second largest displacement crisis on earth after Syria. This is not just a tragedy. It is one of the great humanitarian disasters of our time.
Wow. Very well spoken when he puts it in that way, and his own personal story where his family got run out of there, right? If we're anything in this country, freedom-loving Americans, patriots, right? We should feel for those people. But what he just said there, what he has been living, what those people have been living for the past 25 years. How often did you hear about this? Just a question. How often did you hear about this in your so-called mainstream legacy news reports? Never. Why? Ask yourself why. How come this was never every single day, if it's one of the worst humanitarian crises in human history? How come it wasn't front page news every single day for the past 25 years, right? That should tell you a lot, too, because our so-called mainstream media and a lot of our politicians in this country had a vested interest in keeping that regime going. That's number one. Second thing is this. Hear a lot about this today. Well, it's a regime change. This is what's happening now. America shouldn't be involved in this. And I understand that at first. I understand too. We don't want to get involved with a lot of wars here, and we don't want a lot of regime change. That's not what this is, despite what they're telling us, those same legacy media outlets. Let's go to and this was from, I believe it was a couple of months ago. I think she's the opposition leader at this point. I don't know, but she is a strong voice for freedom. But this is what she said, and she discounted that entire idea that this is regime change. The regime change was putting the communists in charge. They're not duly elected at all.
Some people talk about invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion in Venezuela, and I answered, Venezuela has been already invaded. We have the Russian agents, we have the Iranian agents, we have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, operating freely in accordance with the regime. We have the Colombian guerrilla, the drug cartels that have taken over 60% of our populations, and not only.
And now what she said there, and she would know, drug cartels, Iranian money, communist China money, all of that affects us directly because of what we just lived through previous to this administration, a wide open border. So of course we're directly involved in this. And it's not a regime change if this guy was a fugitive who is now about to face charges in the Southern District of New York. That's not regime change. That's getting a criminal who, by the way, according to the president this morning, if you want to take his word for it, is directly responsible. Remember we said a narco terrorist communist for 90% of the drugs coming into our country. That right there is reason enough. We don't want a regime change. This isn't Southeast Asia. This is Venezuela. But again, we already played Mamdani for you. Now let's go back to some of our other elected representatives who jumped right to their legacy news sources, their favorite hosts on CNN this morning to complain about this. Let's go to see what they say. First and foremost, here's Greg Casar. He is a Democrat from Texas. What does he say about it? Well, he's very upset. Oh, he's very upset that we would do this because he wasn't informed. Right, like he wouldn't run right to the media.
Donald Trump has escalated his illegal and dangerous war with Venezuela by bombing the country and taking its president. But under the Constitution, Congress can actually put a stop to this. That's why I'm demanding that we take a vote on a war powers resolution. And if all Democrats stick together and a few Republicans find a spine, we can put an end to this and not put young Americans and troops needlessly at risk in another potentially endless war. Donald Trump.
He, once again, clueless, but I don't think he really relies on the facts. He doesn't care about that. He's just upset that something actually good happened for Americans and Venezuelan Americans who are in this country here. They don't want that. They're all upset because they weren't informed. Well, this guy immediately, that's early in the morning, posted that and went right to the media and did a bunch of interviews. You don't think he would have blabbed about that and we would have been able to successfully execute this mission? Let's go to another one. Let's go to a representative from the state of Vermont, Rebecca Balint. Oh, she's upset too. Oh, she's upset about, oh man, she's upset about this. Another, again, like they all are. Look to see who's most upset about this, and that's how you know it's a good thing.
Good morning, Jonathan. Look, I'm angry. On behalf of Americans, on behalf of Congress, and most importantly, on behalf of our service members who were put in harm's way. And this was not necessary. This was not legal. And we saw this coming.
Not necessary. No, it's not. She's totally, completely fine with a narco-communist terrorist dictatorship running that country, which, by the way, before all of that actual regime change happened 25 years ago, was one of the wealthiest countries in the world until that happened. And now it's horrific. But they don't care about that because it's their buddies. It's their lefty buddies. They're totally fine with that. But something happens to help Americans. Oh, they hate it. Why? Go back to what I said at the beginning. Sometimes you just want to figure out, you don't have time to look at all the details. You want to figure out if something is good for Americans and good for America first. Look at people like her and look at people like Mamdani and look at people like Greg Casar there and to see if they hate it. If they hate it, it's a good thing. It's a really good thing. Here's how else it's good. And she mentioned that there, putting Americans at risk. Well, you probably heard since the details have already come out today about this particular mission. Let's get into that for a second. We took out this communist narco-terrorist dictator. They said now less than a half hour, no American casualties whatsoever. That's incredible. And that leads me to this. Here's the other thing, and a little bit deeper into the story, besides the asshole's reaction to it. This is why it's good for you and me and regular everyday Americans. This is why. First and foremost, what we just did proved American military capability even more than what we thought it was. I thought that one more clip for you today that I think sums up this entire thing. And interesting enough, this was on CNN, and they had a former general on talking about this and what the reaction would probably be from China, Iran, and Russia this morning at what we just pulled off militarily, because it was incredible. Now listen to what they say. Not what they'll say in the news. It's like, it's that they admonished the United States for doing this, blah, blah, blah. Think about what this guy's talking about. What are they saying behind closed doors of what we are fully capable of now?
Tell me how this news is being received in Iran. How's it being received in Russia? How's it being received in China?
All three, predictably, will deplore this kind of activity publicly. Privately, they will be impressed with the military capability here. I would argue none of those three militaries could have executed an operation like this. And again, we tend to just breeze by this. But the idea of finding, fixing, kidnapping, taking him out alive with his wife, no casualties on the side of the U.S., that's an extraordinary military operation. So
he's right about that. He makes a good point. We just literally, we're focused on all the other issues of this entire Venezuela story. That's unbelievable to think about what they just pulled off. I mean, perfection. I know Trump was talking about it on Fox News today and then at the press conference again shortly after. You don't think that sends a message to the rest of the world, to our enemies across the world? And I love that the same Democrats I played clips for you say, this is why they don't like us across the world. Who the hell cares? You would rather be feared than liked. You live in a country that is capable of this now. And all of the same people that love to criticize that they hate the military and they hate military might and they hate that they're strengthening the military, and now we call it the Secretary of War and the Department of War. They live under this protection too. This was a major accomplishment that just sent chills down those spines of those same leaders in those other countries, as that former general just said. That's amazing. That's the first good thing for you and me and regular Americans. The second thing is this. Let's talk about oil. I'm no economist. I'm just a regular guy like you are. But we're getting the oil. Oh, absolutely we are. Well, what makes you say that, Bill? Let's go back to the Gulf War before he was President Trump and he was Donald Trump businessman and he talked about the Gulf War. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. What were his very, very famous public comments? I'm against the war, but if we're going in, take the oil. That was before he was president. Now he is. So one of the major producers of oil for the economies of China and Russia is what? Venezuela. What happens? These same people that are clutching pearls that, we took out a communist narco dictator and it's so terrible that we did that. It's unconstitutional. These are the same people that will be loving their gas prices next summer. We're getting the oil. I feel pretty confident. I don't make predictions. I'm not capable of that. But we're getting the oil. Oh, absolutely. Here's the other thing. How about that message it sends to the rest of the world, right? How about the message that it sends that, let's fingers crossed, and hopefully everything works out, and Venezuela is able to become a major force in the world, an economic force, democratically elected economic force in the world again. Do you know the opportunity that's about to open up for American business? Not just corporations. You, me, small business people, investors, everything. A huge, huge country. If that was able to regain its status like it was 25 years ago, what a great thing this is for the West. This would be incredible. How about that? How about just economic opportunity? And last but not least, how about those, I played a couple of them at the beginning. How about those Venezuelan Americans? Like that guy telling his story, saying his family lost everything and had to escape to this country. How about those people? They're Americans now, too. Strong, patriotic, freedom-loving Americans. It's good for them. There's 400,000 of them in Florida alone. Right there, it's good for this country and for us and for everybody else. So my takeaway, just wanted to jump on here and do a little extra, is you're going to hear from everybody and everything, all of the disgusting politicians and leftists and media talking heads that will denounce this from here to eternity. Don't listen to them. Think about what it means to you, me, and everybody else with what this strike meant. Let's hope it doesn't result in anything bad, obviously. And no, it's not regime change, but you're going to hear a lot of lies about this. All you have to do is think, is it good for you as an American? And is it good for your country? And is it good for America first? And so far, there's a lot of reasons to think it is. Or, as the president said not too long ago,
everything in his country, all the natural resources. He even recorded a message to you in English recently, offering mediation. What could we do in order to stop that?
He has offered everything. He's offered everything. You're right. You know why? Because he doesn't want to fuck around with the United States. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
And they don't want to F around with Americans or America first. I just wanted to jump here. If you're new to, we do the live stream every single day, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., Wicked Radio, and that lives on as a post on X. Put your notifications on, and on Facebook and on YouTube. Thanks for the follows. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Pay attention to this thing because it's huge. Appreciate you.